Neptune and fantasy. So I I've been going through the different planets, and then obviously I'm going to do asteroids as well, and where we talk about what the kind of elements are to each of the planets and asteroids and how that kind of shows up, what signs they can be connected to, and whatever. And so when it comes to Neptune, it's funny, I thought I would go from one extreme to another. So Saturn is all about reality, and Neptune's about fantasy. So I do link this one to my Facing Delusions reading. I will definitely look at Pisces in that reading, and I will definitely look at Neptune. Obviously, the aspects to other planets and asteroids in terms of Neptune is another important thing. Again, it will depend on the person, it depends on the reading. But this is a really good one because oftentimes Neptune is, I often say it's part of like a survival aspect. So again, if you're like a young child, for instance, and you're at the mercy of your parents or your caregivers, and maybe there's all sorts, can be aggressive or abusive or whatever. All of these things are lessons to teach you boundaries, and unfortunately, some of these lessons can be really heavy, which of course, not ideal, but still, we go through these things. Neptune is there in those circumstances when you have no other option. It's that whole fawn situation when you're in like a predatory situation. You freeze up, right? So that's kind of what you do in terms of these situations as well. That's definitely one option. But the other is create a fantasy world, one that doesn't exist, one that you can escape to because you're stuck in this position for however long it needs to be. And then one day, you can live life the way you see fit. But right now, you're living in a fantasy world because it's the only way to survive. Human beings are incredible when it comes to the survival mechanisms that we have. And so that's what it does. You don't want to do this forever, and you don't want this to be your main point of call. Now, again, everybody's going to be different. There may be some people, of course there will be, who have charts that are very influenced by Neptune. So it's quite likely that you will lean that direction, and I understand why you would. But you do have to be careful. You should only lean into fantasy in those situations when you have no other option. The other good part that it's for, and I guess before I was saying it's not really good, but the good thing it is for is the creativity aspect. So it brings this ability to look at a person or a situation or whatever for its potential, for what it really is deep down. Not what other people see it as, not what the limitations of society see it as, but what could it really be? What could it really be underneath everything? And Neptune gives us this ability to do that, to see the potential possibilities and the creativity. And again, it's connected to art, to dance, to music. People who are really good in these areas tend to have strong Neptune or Pisces in their chart. It's pretty consistent. Obviously, it also links to romance. So once again, it can be good or not so good. If you find yourself seeing maybe someone who has the potential to be great, and they just need that little bit of support, right? That's beautiful. That's the gift of Neptune. The ability to show the mirror to someone and say, look, you may not see you, but I see you. And sometimes people just need that little boost. And now all of a sudden they can live the reality that they've always dreamed of. On the flip side, this can also be perhaps someone who's not ready. They're not ready to face these things. They're not ready to become who they truly are and the gifts that they truly have. And this is where things can get a bit tricky. It's kind of like an anchor. You and this person are now tethered to this anchor, and you're being pulled down to the depths of the ocean, and you can't get out. This is where it can be it could go any direction. It depends on the aspects to Neptune. Depends on how this shows up. Everybody has different lessons to learn. But this could be that, you've seen what an abusive or predatory person could be and on the best light, but they're not ready to be that right now. And then you keep trying to believe that they are, and you keep trying to help them, and then Maybe they become abusive. Maybe they, whatever, maybe your life is on the line. Obviously, you got to know when to cut yourself free of the anchor and swim up. It's this kind of stuff that we have to be aware of when it comes to Neptune. Because there's a sacrificial quality to Neptune and Pisces. Again, when you finally feel like you've been seen, or you feel that deep connection that you've been craving, whatever that might be, this level of something that you've been needing, and then someone represents that. That can be a tricky thing, because you can kind of throw out caution to the wind, so to speak, and now you've tethered yourself to somebody who's potentially incredibly dangerous. So this could be like a host parasite situation, and I know that does not sound good the way I'm putting it, but if you're not careful and you have strong Neptune or Pisces in your chart, that could very well be what you do. And yeah, the intentions are good, but if you're with someone who's not willing to do the work, and they're kind of dangerous and evil and whatever, I mean, that's not going to be good. You might find yourself in a situation very similar to the one when you were a child, and now you're back in it again. And for what? So we do have to be careful with the delusion quality of Neptune. Again, delusion in a way that you can create the fantasy into a reality of what you actually want. Something that's truly beautiful and, connected and brings you to places that you couldn't have imagined. That's beautiful. And that's the best part of Neptune that no other planet has. I mean, Jupiter can be sort of on the line of that, which of course is why Pisces is ruled by both Jupiter and Neptune. But the downside is that you put up with things you shouldn't, and that, a person might not be as pure as what you hope they could be, I suppose. And pure is an interesting word. It kind of came out, but it's, I think pure in terms of the true meaning of it is you being honest with yourself, you being your true self, whatever that is, the best light of what you are. I think so. Obviously, this can kind of lean over into the 12th house, Neptune, because again, it rules Pisces, and Pisces energy is similar to the 12th. So again, it's these kinds of spaces that are all about solitude, right? Asylum, jail, hospitals, places where either you are alone with your thoughts and you're okay with that, the contemplation of it, or places you're actually trapped. Like you're forced into solitary confinement. Like you're stuck with your thoughts. So, I mean, if you have Neptune here, or, you've got Neptune conjunct, I don't know, your sun sign or Venus or, something, obviously it creates different vibes, different emotions. But these things all come into play, and then they affect how Neptune shows up. Obviously, a conjunction means that it's together in the same house, the same sign, and sometimes it's both. And that creates a different environment. Sometimes too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Obviously, all the aspects are different, and they all bring something different to the table. But anyway, I hope that was interesting.